Hello.
What's up?
Hello.
Good morning.
She's like, what's going on?
You guys are early birds, huh?
Yeah, I'm sure you probably are too, right?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I wouldn't want to like do a chat at 6 a.m., but I would be up.
Yeah. When do you wake up every morning?
Lately, I've been sleeping till 7, but I used to always be up before that. But I just think like the quarantine, I've been going to bed later, so I'm sleeping from like 9 to 7 instead of 8 to 6, something like that.
Sure.
I'm always in bed for like 10 hours, so.
Yep. We're
You
gonna.
sleep for 10 hours?
I don't sleep for 10 hours, but I'm in bed for 10 hours. Sometimes I do, but not consistently.
I'm like, dang.
So you're in the East Coast. Whereabouts?
Ohio.
Oh shit! What part?
Dayton, like south of it's south of Columbus, a little north of Cincinnati.
Okay. How close? South of Columbus, you said.
Like we're an hour and probably 15, 20 minutes from Rogue.
Okay, got it. And is that where you were born?
Yeah, I was born in Northeast Ohio, so I was born closer to Cleveland.
Okay. Perfect. Just so you know, we're gonna wait like 2 more minutes to let everybody jump in the room, and then we're gonna get started. What are you drinking during this conversation today? Do you have water?
Yeah.
The H2 and the O.
Do you have this bottle from X Endurance?
I wish I did. I don't.
Okay, well, we're gonna have to send it to you.
Unbelievable that they did not hook you up.
We're gonna need to send you
I
one.
have like 5 of the one that like the squeezy one. I have like 5 of those at least.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've never even seen that one, so I definitely need it. I love the straw. For some reason, I drink more when I have a straw. I'm like,
Yes, that's exactly why I use that same. Would you call it a bottle, a glass? I'm not even sure. Cup.
bottle.
A massive cup.
Yeah. And like this is the one that I only put water in, so it's like clean. You know how your water bottles get so nasty? Like this is my clean water bottle only.
Right. It's like some of them, like it's almost like the opening is so small, it's like you can't even clean it up.
Yeah. It's funny. My husband likes it too. We only have one, so I always fill it up because I'm OCD. I'll like fill it up and leave it for like when I come home, so it's filled. And I'll come home and it's empty, and I'm like, what the heck? And he's like, what? I'm like, you have to fill it back up. He's
Oh
like,
my gosh.
you don't understand why you're so OCD. I'm like, I don't know. I think I don't like really cold water. So once it sits for a little bit, I like it better.
You do like really cold water or no?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
So I like to fill it up and then have it sitting all day, and I'll just like sip on it as opposed to filling it up and having to chug it. I don't know. Weird,
Same.
but
Whatever gets the job done.
right.
So
Okay,
on the logistics department, what's going on right now?
I'm trying to make sure that the we have these.
Oh,
Yeah,
Where? See, I want you to be on the screen.
Then it's not going to be speaker view.
The whole gallery view is here. So that's why.
Oh, got it. Mm-mm.
all right.
Hell yeah.
Do you take the same kind?
Yeah, we'll do it at the end. We're just getting everything set up. Bear with us one moment.
I want to make sure it's. Where is yours? Oh, there it is. Okay. So as long as it's on that.
You good?
Yep, because everybody should be muted. So we'll take a clip from here.
Cool. Amazing.
Sweet.
We ready to do this?
Ready?
All right, for those of you who don't know, and this was actually, the person who actually gets real credit for this is Nate.
Is it Nate?
It's Nate. Nate started it, I think. He was the first one. Why can't I think of Nate's last name right now? What's Nate's last name?
Crow.
Nate Crow. Yes. So it is trickled very far, and it is the creatine shot. So
doesn't it taste so good?
It does. I didn't actually, this is really dumb, but I didn't take a sip of water yesterday before I did it. I dry mouthed it. I like tossed it in, and then I tried to get water, and then my husband did the same thing. He was like, "Give me the water," and I was like, "Oh my god!" And then I watched Nate tagged me in a video like an hour later, and he puts water in first. I was like, oh.
Yeah,
not screwing that up today.
Well, hey, there's only one way to learn, and it's called by making mistakes.
Yes.
So here we go. Amanda, here's to you.
Cheers.
Woo!
All right.
Green Skittles.
We ready to get this party started?
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Amanda. Today we have the pleasure of having 2 times CrossFit Games athlete, Mrs. Amanda Barnhart. Amanda, just to make sure that I'm getting this correctly, you competed in the CrossFit Games in 2018 and 2019, correct?
Yes.
Amazing. Okay, so just so that everybody is on the same page, some of you guys who are in the room right now may have heard of the term CrossFit. Some of you guys have been doing CrossFit for quite a bit of time, but for those of you who don't know what CrossFit is, let's begin by defining what it is. So it's a fitness modality that's also a sport. Amanda, can you just share a little bit, like, what is CrossFit?
Oh gosh. So CrossFit is just a form of exercise where you basically do any type of exercise you can imagine. So we do weightlifting, gymnastics, running, swimming, biking, rowing. So single modalities as well as combining them all together. And it's mostly exercise. I would say 99.9% of the world does it just for exercise. I started doing it just for exercise. And it's also a very competitive sport, not an Olympic sport, but a very high level sport as well.
Yeah. So CrossFit is just like a way to do fitness. However, like the top people who do fitness are also athletes, games athletes. How many women go to the games every single year with a new rule?
I think last year was like 120, something like that. Because every country winner gets to go. So if you win your country and you have an affiliate there, then you qualify to the CrossFit Games. And then if you're top 20 in the world, and then if you win a sanctional. So at the end of the day, I think it was 120, 130 last year.
Okay, amazing. So as you guys can imagine, it's literally like the top athletes from like probably one of the hardest like fitness practices in the whole wide world. I mean, if you can't just see based off of the way that Amanda looks that she's so freaking strong and fit, which is absolutely amazing. This is what the CrossFit Games is, and in order to qualify, it's super, super hard. So for one, thank you so much for spending your time with us this morning. We're truly honored and grateful. You know, before we get started, I think it's super important that in order to understand where you're going in life, you also really have to, have a basic understanding of where somebody came from. So my first question to you is, how did your journey with fitness begin?
Really at a super young age. My mom started my sister and I are about a year and a half apart. So she started both of us at like the age of 3. I think the first thing we did, my sister was actually even younger, in swim classes, like just like mommy and me swim classes. So we started swimming, ballet, and gymnastics first. And those were pretty much our sports for a few years. I did competitive swimming as soon as you were old enough to do it. I think I was 5 or 6 years old on the competitive swim team, which is like so funny to look back at pictures because like these big old goggles. And then I really, really liked gymnastics. And I think I was 7 or 8 and they asked me to join the competition team, which is like a little bit more of an honor to you're like you're not just going there and tumbling around anymore. Like you're doing routines and you're showing up to competitions. And I was probably 7 or 8 when I got invited to do that. And that was like what I loved. So I did quit swimming at that point. I did it for many years though. And then my mom was like, you have to keep doing ballet because it's going to help you with your gymnastics. Cause I was just a powerhouse and I had no graceful dance skills at all. And that's really important in gymnastics. So my mom's like, you need to keep doing it. I hated it, but probably from like age 7 to 13, I just mostly did gymnastics and ballet. And I just was constantly doing something like we would like try soccer and try softball and like try everything, but I always just wanted to go back to gymnastics. It was what I loved. From there, I think it was probably 13 when I quit gymnastics. Just getting burned out. I think a lot of gymnasts, typically when they turn teenager, especially females, start to get scared of all of the high level skills that we're doing. Like, I don't know what it is about being a child and then turning to a teenager. You realize that like what you're doing is kind of scary. So you start to not enjoy it as much. I didn't have a great coach at that time, so I was just over it. So I gave up gymnastics, gave up ballet because I was only doing that for gymnastics. Immediately started playing volleyball, and I think I was going into 7th grade that year. So tried out for volleyball, and my parents were always like, you have to do 3 sports. Like you can't just focus on one. They didn't want me to be obsessive about one sport. So I was like, well, what else can I do? At the time, there was no winter sport. I actually didn't make the basketball team my 7th grade year. So I tried to play basketball, didn't make the team, never played basketball my whole life. And then I ran track in the spring. And then I started swimming again because I needed something to do. We didn't have team at that age, but I just actually would jump into the high school team practices because my sister was on the team. So I started swimming again. And so by the time I got to high school, I had 3 sports. So I played volleyball in the fall, I swam in the winter, and I ran track in the spring. And it was just like a perfect little sequence. Like I went straight from one sport to another. Even back then, which I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but it was still uncommon for people to do that. So I was always the one on the team who came in out of shape because I was playing volleyball all fall when everyone else was swimming. So I would come to swim season and half the team had been swimming all summer, all fall, and I was totally out of shape because I'd been playing volleyball for the last 4 months. And then the same thing would happen with track. So I would swim all winter. Most of the girls ran winter track, indoor track. I did not. So I would come out of swim season, like the translation between track and swimming, not as good as what people would think. They're like, oh, you're in shape, you've been swimming. I'm like, no, it's totally different. So I would go into track feeling kind of out of shape, hadn't run all winter, and then joined track. It was fun though, because I just had like the balance, and I also played club volleyball was my favorite sport. So I played club volleyball while I was in the other 2. So my life was a little crazy going from like a swim meet to club volleyball practice, and the weekends were jam-packed, but I loved it. And I never really had a time where I wasn't competing like that. So it set me up pretty good.
For sure. You know, so there's 2 things that I want to point out. For one, high achiever much.
Yeah, I know.
I love it. And then for 2, you know, something that we always say is that there's a blessing in adversity. And I think, and tell me if you agree with this, you know, you were dealing with an adversity because you had to switch from, you know, being in shape for one specific sport to another. Do you believe that that helped you to adapt at a faster rate because of that?
Absolutely. It was really, really hard on me because of how competitive I was. I wanted to be the best in every sport, but I was trying to go up against people who only trained that sport. So there was many times where I was super frustrated because I'm like, gosh, I can't keep up with these girls in the pool, but they've been swimming for the last 12 months and I hadn't swam since last swim season. So it was like, there was many times where I had conversations with my parents where it's like, maybe we should go to one sport. Like maybe I should try to focus on one so I can be the best in that sport. But we stuck our guns and just tried to, I did get better. It was just the beginning of the season. The first month was always so mentally hard on me because I was so far behind. I always felt like I was playing catch up, especially in swimming and track, because those sports, the endurance shows. So I was just out of shape and they all weren't. So it was really, really hard. It did teach me definitely how to deal with adversity. At the time, I don't think I realized it. I was just competitive and mad that I couldn't keep up. But I mean, obviously I got through it and did well in all of my sports. So my goal going into high school was to get 12 letters, because I wanted to all 4 years get a letter in 3 sports, because not many people I don't know if it's common in most high schools, but my high school, it was not common at all for people to do 3 sports and get a letter every year, especially your freshman year on like a varsity. Like varsity volleyball was a pretty big deal to get a letter my freshman year, because most freshmen play freshman volleyball, not varsity. But I went into high school with that goal, and I wasn't going to give up on it, just to try to be better shape for swim season and give up one of my sports.
So I don't know if this is like a foreign thing. I wasn't born in the US, so obviously like I didn't go to an American high school. But what do you mean when you say get a letter in a sport?
So like you have to get a letter in like, have you ever seen how like in movie and stuff, they wear like Letterman's jackets, like the jackets with their high school like letter on it, and then
yes.
Sports. So it was really like an honor in high school to get the jacket and to have your 3 sports on the back and to like show that you were a varsity athlete. So when in your freshman year, when you go, especially like sports like volleyball, football, basketball, like those type of team sports, it's much trickier to letter as a freshman, because they have a freshman team, they have a junior varsity team, and they have a varsity team.
Right.
And yeah, it's by your age, but it's also how good you are. So if you show up as a freshman and you are really good, you can play varsity. It's just, you have to prove yourself. So that was my goal with volleyball. So I came into volleyball. You go to volleyball tryouts in the fall of your freshman year, and everyone's together. And then they start kind of separating you, like the people that are going to make freshmen go here, the junior varsities here, which is mostly sophomores and juniors. And then the seniors are usually on varsity. And then occasionally there'll be a freshman that will make varsity. And I made varsity as my freshman that year. And it was like probably my number one goal going into high school, because I knew that I wanted to play on varsity, because you get to play like under the lights with, and everyone comes and watch the varsity games. Like no one comes and watches the freshman game. So if you make varsity, you play like half the games, you contribute to scoring, then you get a letter at the end of the season. So I was super excited about that, because that was like a big accomplishment, especially with volleyball. The other sports, I felt like as long as you participate, because you don't have to make varsity in track or swimming, you're just on the team. Right. The only way you get a letter that way is if you score enough points. So you have to place a certain amount of times throughout the meets in the season, and then you'll get a letter. So I would argue it's a little bit easier to letter in a sport like swimming and track your freshman year than it is in a sport like volleyball, basketball, or football. So.
Got it. Oh my gosh. So, I guess back in the day when I watched Grease Lightning for the first time, and what was his name when he had like a letter on his jacket, I thought it's just a thing. But turns out that when you're a foreigner, you don't know that. So you learn.
It's an American thing for sure.
So you learn something new every day. Well, I mean, man, what an accomplishment at a very young age. So, basically you're competitive from the age of 3 all through high school. Now, when were you introduced to CrossFit?
So I went up to college and I ended up swimming in college. So I picked one sport, which was.
Amanda, one sec. I can't hear you.
I don't think she can hear you either.
Amanda, hold on. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Do you mind?
Oh, she's back.
Okay, you're back. My apologies.
It's okay. I said that I ended up swimming in college, so I chose the one sport to do. In the summers we were off, but we were still encouraged to swim and lift. So we had like a lifting program that they would give us. It was just standard weight room stuff. It was really boring. So I was like, what can I do that is more fun? And I can't remember. I think I saw like someone on Facebook or something doing CrossFit. I'm like, what is that? I don't know what it is. So I Googled it, found a place super close to my parents' house and drugged my sister there and said, we're doing this. So we went and joined like almost immediately. We did CrossFit for the whole summer and we swam as well as doing CrossFit, but we just counted CrossFit as our weightlifting for the summer. We didn't ever actually do the program that we were supposed to do, but I think it helped. We came back in August, so we would go back to school in August, and we were both in pretty good shape just from doing CrossFit every single day. And I became super addicted to it and was like, oh my gosh, I want to keep doing this. Like, was pretty devastated that I got to do it for 2 months and then had to stop for the whole year, because once I went back to school, I didn't do it at all. So that was, I think, 2 years of college where I did that, just did it in the summer for fun. So I think on my CrossFit Games profile, everyone thinks I went as a team 2014 or something. I didn't actually go on the team that year. I was an alternate because I helped the team qualify by doing the open. But I did not compete that year. So, cause I was still swimming. I was like, our championship meet was like during the open. So.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So you basically qualified for back in the day when it was regionals, when you weren't even training CrossFit.
Just on a team, but I helped them qualify.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Where did you go to school, by the way?
I went to Cleveland State for my undergrad, so that was where I swam, and then that was 4 years, and then after that, I went to the University of Dayton, which is down where I live now, and that's where I went for physical therapy school, which was 3 more years of school.
Yeah, so hard to get into PT school.
It's hard. That was stressful.
Quick fun fact: after college, I applied to go to PT school, and I didn't get in anywhere.
It's hard. It's very hard to get in. You have to have it's pushing it to have anything but straight A's nowadays, I think, to get into, and you have to have like references and hours, and
yeah.
It's definitely I applied to 7 schools and I think I got into less than half of them. So
Yeah,
you have to apply to a lot.
That's amazing. Okay, so you started doing CrossFit while you were in college in the summer as a way to basically promote your strength and conditioning for what you're doing with swimming. So now what happened after did you stop swimming competitively once you graduated college?
Yes. So 2014, I graduated from undergrad. I was officially done swimming. That summer was when I was like, yay, I finally get to do CrossFit all the time. So that was when I started doing it. Definitely not competitively, but was going every day and was, for the first time, could do it for a consistent time period.
So when did you start training full-time? 2014?
No. I guess full-time. I guess you can call it that. I did CrossFit every day. I definitely wasn't like training to aspire to be a games athlete at that point. I had that summer I moved to Dayton because I was starting PT school in the fall. So that first year of PT school was pretty rough. My coach teases me. He's like, I'm pretty sure that first semester you came to the gym like 3 times a week. I'm like, yeah, maybe, I don't remember. But like, I was so stressed about studying that the gym was the last priority. I just tried to go occasionally. And then as I eased into PT school more, it got better. I can't remember if it was that year. No, it wasn't. It was the following year that we qualified a team to regionals. So 2016. And I was in my second year of PT school. I had a little bit more time on my hands and we went as a team. Still at that point, I was like unaware. I wanted to compete in CrossFit, but I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know that I had the ability to make the games. I didn't know that I would ever be at regionals other than a team. Like, obviously it was super competitive because we made the team. So I was excited. We went in 2016. We were probably close to last place the whole weekend. It was.
Uh-oh. Amanda, you're in the twilight zone again. Uh-oh. You're in the twilight zone again. Can you say something? Hello, hello?
hear you. Can you
No,
hear me?
I can hear you.
The
Sorry.
heck?
What?
I feel like it's my internet.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. So the last thing that I heard before you went into the Twilight Zone is we went.
Sorry, it was kind of dark in here. We went to regionals in 2016 and we were like almost last place all weekend long. So it wasn't very fun because we're just like struggling so much. I mean, it was fun to compete with my friends and to be on the competition floor, but at the end of the weekend, I was like, man, that was like not very fun to be like getting crushed all weekend. And that was when there were still teams of 6 and like the programming was just really different back then. It was like 6 individual workouts almost. Like it was like, could you do this? And then the next girl goes, and then the next girl. It was not many workouts where we were out there together, working together as a team. It was individual capacity across 6 people, which was hard. And that was the first time I'd seen like all those girls in person. So like Julie Fouché, I think, was still there back then. And I loved her, just seeing that and being like, wow, like what's the difference between me and them? Like, this is crazy. Like, I think I can be that good. I just need to work hard. That was kind of when I realized that I wanted to try and make it as an individual after that experience. So that whole next year, still in PT school, so limited amount of time, but still I trained much harder that year. And I went into the open hoping to qualify. I wasn't sure what to expect to regionals, and I did. I think I was close. I was like 16th or 17th in my region. At that point, it was top 20 in your like open region that went to regionals, right?
Sure.
I think that was how it was back then. Seems so foreign now. But yeah, so I qualified to regionals that year. As an individual, which was really exciting to make it and realize that you could be there if you just put some more effort in. So
For sure. So actually, my next question for you was, when was the moment that you were now becoming an aspiring CrossFit Games athlete? Was it after the 2016 regionals?
I would say it was after the 2017 regionals. So I showed up 2017. It was my final year of physical therapy school. I had just graduated like 2 weeks before regionals. I had taken my boards like 2 weeks before. So it was a really, really crazy time in my life. I had no time to do anything except study, because when you're in PT school your last year like that, you're working full time, but you're not getting paid. So I was studying, training, working, go to bed. Like that's what my whole day was. So I showed up to regionals feeling pretty unprepared, just because the amount of time I had in the gym was maybe an hour and a half a day, and I was studying a lot and working 8-hour days. So after regionals, that year I got 25th place. And I was like, again, cool to be here. It was fun, but not that fun, because it's not fun to not do well. So that was when my coach and I sat down, and he said, you're done with school. I really think you can go to the games, but we need to like change your life to try to train for it. You can't be working full time and try to make it. So that was after the 2016 regional or 2017 regionals that we kind of made the decision that we were going to go for it and change some things around.
Something that I want to pinpoint that I find very interesting, and tell me if you agree with this, would you say that those hardships / embarrassing moments of like feeling like you were beat down by all these other girls helped you to raise your bar within your own journey and potential? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's like you see what they're doing, and you see where you're at, and you want to be there, and you have to realize like these girls, I knew like Sarah Sigmundsdottir was in the regional that year, and I remember watching her, and she's so impressive, and I was like, she trains full time. Like, give yourself a break right now, give yourself some forgiveness that you're not at that level, but you also have to realize what it's going to take to get there. So I think it kind of channeled me, not to be mad at myself that I wasn't there yet, because I hadn't put the time in. I hadn't really put any time in, and I was still there. I just had to, you have to take it to the next level if you really want to get there. It's not just most of us don't just get lucky and show up to regionals and, you know, get on that podium. It is definitely a very tedious process to get there. So I think realizing that, forgiving myself a little bit for knowing that my focus was on school the last 3 years, it was not on CrossFit. So that definitely helped a lot.
You guys, can you please comment in the chat box and tell us how much of a badass do you think Amanda is? Like, dude, honestly, like, you know, you made, not only you made it to regionals, but you competed in regionals while going to PT school. That's insane. Meanwhile, most people who go to PT school are like, I'm not even working out. And
yeah.
Here, so, you know, that was a really good perspective, but I also love the fact that like it fueled your fire because I mean, you know, after hearing, you know, the trajectory of your story, like competition is in your blood for sure. Yeah. You know, I mean, it definitely, like, becoming a games athlete doesn't just happen by accident. Now, my next question to you, because I think that there is a very big misunderstanding because of social media of what being a games athlete or just like an elite athlete in any sport, you know, everybody, the reason why, everybody, like most of us, I will consider myself the average Joe because I don't train, like training for me is not my way of making a living. But you know, for all of us who are just like basically taking training as a hobby, I feel like a lot of times there is a really big misrepresentation of what it's like to be a games athlete. Like everybody thinks that the entire year is basically just like a fitness festival and, you know, it's really cool. When I know that, you know, it takes a shit ton of sacrifice. So if you feel comfortable, if you don't mind telling us a little bit about all of the sacrifices that you actually make on a daily basis in order to be in that caliber.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right about the misconception. I think that I used to get mad at first, you know, when people would just make comments and be, oh, it must be nice to live like that. And I'm like, do you want to come spend the entire day in the gym with me and then realize how nice it's going to be? Or, you know, you get sponsors and you sometimes get some free stuff sent to you. And I get comments like, oh, must be nice. You get to work out all day and get a free whatever. But what they don't see is the hours that we do spend in the gym, the hours that I spend in the gym alone. The amount of times I cry in a week, probably. I mean, it depends on the week, but leading up to games training, all of us girls joke that we cry at least 3 times a week. And that's honestly not an exaggeration because you're putting your body through straight hell and your emotions are just, you can't even imagine controlling them at that point because you're just so tired. You're stressed out because you're putting so much pressure on yourself to get to this level of fitness, and you keeps getting closer and closer and closer, and you question every day how you feel because you're beating yourself into the ground. You're like, I feel terrible. I feel out of shape. I'm not ready. And you just do workout after workout that just beats you to the ground, and you just finish almost every day of games training completely exhausted, emotionally upset, and thinking, am I even fit right now? Because I'm just beating. So that time period, although it is very fun because we do a lot of outdoor training, we do a lot of swimming, we do a lot of, you know, just all of the fun training comes up in games training, but it's also the worst 3 months because it is so intense and it's so mentally, I mean, I don't do anything during that time period other than train, eat, sleep, and lay on my couch because I can't. I'm just that mentally exhausted when I come. My mom teases me. She's like, she knows that I'm not even gonna like do more than water my flowers because I'm just too tired like to go outside and do that sort of stuff. But you just realize that like it's a cool life, but your whole life, when your whole life revolves around it, there's not much giving for other things. Like games training is exaggerated, so that time period is obviously short-lived, but the rest of the year, I think I was way stricter when I was trying to make it. So now that I kind of know how I can manage things, I definitely live a little bit more freely than I used to. But that first year when I was trying to make it and trying to prove myself, I stuck to my macros every single day. I did not go out and drink with my friends. If I did go, I ordered a water while they sat there and drank beers and burgers in front of me, leaving by 7:30, 8 o'clock so I could get home and go to bed and make sure I slept good. Even though it's a Saturday night and I'm not training on Sunday, if you don't sleep good on Saturday nights, you go into Monday depleted. And I learned that. And, you know, there's times of the year where you can enjoy Saturday nights, but it's not very often. I think some people do it better than others. I'm more of a creature of habit. So I try to stick to it more often than most do, I think. But because sleep does affect you so much, the last thing you want to do is start a week of very intense training in a deficit of sleep when you're supposed to be, your body's supposed to be recovering on Sunday, not recovering from bad food and alcohol and lack of sleep. So stuff like that almost never happens. Going home to see my family, times of year where I absolutely don't go home and see them because I can't, you know, getting to a different gym and not having access to equipment and spending half the day in the gym anyways. It's like, what's the point of driving 3 hours home to see my parents when I'm going to spend all of Saturday in the gym, most of Friday in the gym? So I get to see them Saturday night for a couple hours and then have to go back home on Sunday. So it's like the reality of, I mean, we work on Saturdays. It's like, it's not like we get Saturdays off. So I think that that is like a hard concept that took me a while to realize that, like, Amanda going to the gym is not Amanda being selfish. It's Amanda's job to go to the gym, and like training is your job. And I can't feel guilty about having, you know, Saturdays are very unlikely that it's less than 2 hours. And sometimes you have stuff that comes up and it's like, you feel a little guilty on the inside being like, I have to go to the gym, you know, because most people show up on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock, they train 1 hour with their friends and they're out and like everyone's having a great Saturday going off and doing fun things. And I think I talk about Saturdays a lot because that's probably the hardest day of the week for me, just because I do have the same amount of training and it's Saturday. So everyone in your life is doing fun things and everyone has plans and everyone's going to do stuff. And you're like, I have to stay at the gym longer. And then the food and all of that on Saturday nights where everyone's always having parties and get-togethers and stuff like that. So it's definitely a hard balance. You can find the line where there's times of year where you can get away with it. During the week, it's the same thing, like going to bed at the same time, getting up at the same time, going to the gym, coming home for lunch. It's just a very mundane, consistent routine that I think that you have to stick to in order to give your body a chance to get better. If you're just constantly doing this,
Sure.
your training is going to do this. You have to keep everything you can in control, which is your food, your sleep, your recovery, your life outside of the gym. If you can control all of that, then you're doing the best thing you possibly can to make your training better. Because I noticed that I beat myself up mentally when I, you know, do something on the weekend or get less sleep for whatever reason. And then I suffer Monday morning and I'm like, dang it, why did I do that? Like now this whole day feels like a wash because I, you know, didn't follow my normal routine or whatever. And it seems extreme and sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. But yeah, that is honestly the reality that most of us do. And yeah, it's a good life, but there is definitely some sacrifices.
I agree. And I think, you know, whether it's in sport or anything where you want to be at the highest level, anything that you do or don't do matters. And I really wanted to pinpoint that because like it seems as if there is a huge misconception, and obviously like I have massive respect for all elite athletes because people see the glory, but people don't see what's like, you know, beneath the iceberg. And it's really important because when the average Joe tries to compare themselves to you, I'm like, no, don't. Like you're living a completely different life. Like you just saw one picture, not the entire day. So now I actually, you know, I want to ask you a couple of questions that I didn't prepare, but, you know, as I'm hearing you speaking, I definitely want to pinpoint that because I think that there's a lot of value in what you're going to say. But can you tell us the importance of a support system while you're going through times like this?
Yeah, it's huge. I talked to someone one time who said, you know, as you get closer to the top or you get closer to the top of your sport or anything in your life, whether it's business or a job or anything, your circle gets smaller and it gets tighter knit. And I've truly experienced that because it is so hard, and I do have to make so many sacrifices that you don't have a ton of time to just do as many things. You have to learn to say no, and you have to learn that, you know, making selfish decisions for yourself is in the best interest of your sport at that time. And you do kind of have to live a selfish life, which feels, you know, really guilty a lot of times. Like, I'm a wife, we have dogs. Like, I try to do everything I possibly can to still be there and be present and to be helpful. But my husband supports the crap out of me and realizes that there's days where I'm dead exhausted and I need help with certain things, and helping me food prep and helping me clean the house and being there at the gym with me, you know, the days that are really, really hard. And I'm like, I don't even care if you don't work out. Like, can you just be there so I don't have to be alone? Like, being alone a lot day after day after day gets hard, you know? So you always have, like, you know, those few friends. My coach will step in and work out with me or be there with me. My husband will step in. My friends at the gym will step in. And it's just like having those people that know how hard it is. And they're not there to compare themselves to you. They're not there to beat you up on whether you won or they won or whatever. They're just there to help you. And I think that that's huge to have. My one friend always says, like, I'm doing this to help you at the games. I'm not doing this for me, because she's like suffering next to me. And, you know, she truly means that. Like, she's not working out next to me for herself. She's doing it for me. And I think that that's huge to have that. My husband does the same thing. The other day I had so he's off right now because of this quarantine life. So he's like training like a games athlete. So Monday he did all of my training with me. Side note, I am on a deload week. So he did all of my training with me on Monday. And then the afternoon I was going to go to the track, and I had like sprint work to do. And then I had like a longer run, and I was like trying to pick the stuff that cause I knew he wasn't going to make it through all of it. I'm like, please, I really want you to run with me. Like, skip the gymnastics. I can do that by myself. And he really wanted to do the front squats because he likes to squat. So we did the workout, the squats, and I did all my gymnastics by myself. And then he's like, I really don't want to run. I'm like, I know, but it really would be nice to have you there. So he's like, you could just tell like by his face that he so badly did not want to run, but he sucked it up, did all the sprints with me, did the whole run with me. We went home that night and he was just like, puts the rapid reboot pants on, is like, I'm dead. And then Tuesday comes around, he goes, I thought he was going to I had a live workout to do, and he said he was going to do it with me. He's like, I'm not working out today. I'm not doing anything. He literally stretched for like 30 minutes. And then Wednesday made a comeback and worked out with me again. But it just is the moral support of having him there, having him in the gym with me. And like, even if he's doing a totally different workout, just having a body next to you, you know, someone that, you know, cares helps tremendously.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that. And that's a deload week.
Yeah, it was so funny because I'm like, this is a deload week. And he's like, I can't.
Oh my gosh. Imagine what a non-deload week is like. Okay. So, you know, with what you do, like, you put your body through like excruciating pain on a daily basis. In fact, I kind of really love, you know, you bringing up, you know, how your husband felt after Monday's workout in a deload week. Just to give you guys an example of the amount of pain that like Amanda's body like adapts to on a regular basis. In order to keep, what's the word that I'm trying to find? In order to keep not necessarily fighting through it, but, you know, getting through workouts like that, there has to be some like mental talk in your head that shuts that pain down. Can you tell us a little bit about what goes on in your head when you're in the middle of a workout and you're going through so much pain, and, you know, you're on the competition floor or in training, and you have to keep on going? Because for you, every second matters.
Mm-hmm. I honestly think that that's not the hard part. So for me, like, starting the workout and getting there and getting through all of the other pieces of the training is the hardest part when I'm feeling super beat up. So like Wednesday is a good example. Like, usually if it's a hard training week, Wednesday mornings, I usually feel terrible and don't want to work out at all. So getting obviously getting to the gym's easy. I'm always going to show up. So I show up to the gym, but getting warmed up, getting your body feeling okay, mentally accepting that you don't feel good and it's okay. And, you know, like I feel like, especially lately, I haven't had a good day since this quarantine started, but typically during normal training, like, you have so many bad days and you have so many okay days, and then you have this one good day that shows up very randomly, and you just have to get used to that, like, and accept that, like, you're still getting better. So I think mentally, for me at least, that is the hardest part. Like, the pain in the workout is what I'm used to, like getting to that point and still going. I feel like that's, I don't want to say it's easy, but like that's what I do every single day, is getting to the pain in the workout and pushing through it. And that's the part where I'm like, I never hesitate that I at least did my best that day, and every day looks different. But I think it's the broad mental turmoil as like an OCD person who's a high achiever, has expectations going into training days. And sometimes I beat myself up walking out of it saying, like, did I get better today or did I get worse? Like, what did I do? Did I maximize every opportunity to, you know, get better at my muscle ups or make my burpees step a little bit more efficient? You know, we've been working on silly things like never resting on my knees when I'm dying in the middle of a workout. Like, things like that are what I feel like causes the day to be successful versus not the pushing through the pain. I just feel like that, especially when competing, that's not something you even think about because you're just in the zone. So the pain you almost never even feel at that point. But in training, pain is hard. Don't get me wrong. It's hard to push through. But I think that the grand scheme of the day and the volume and how you feel and feeling successful, I think that I'm just really type A. So like I have to leave the day feeling like, and sometimes I have days where everything hurts and everything feels hard and everything feels heavy. And I get to the point, it's like, what? I have to pause for a minute and think, okay, this day is going terrible, but what can I find in this day that's going to make me feel like it was a good training day? Sometimes it is the silliest thing, but it's just like, it's whether I like wanted to cry and I didn't give up, or it's like I tried to literally not put my hands on my knees during the Metcon, or I took 10 extra minutes to stretch that I don't normally do. You know, you just have to, even if it's the smallest little bitty win, you have to take it because it kind of is what leads you into the next day with like knowing that you kind of have to keep grinding. So I think the mental grind is way harder than the mental grind in the middle of an actual workout, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Do you think it's because when you're in the middle of a workout, you're in a state of a flow?
I think so. Yeah. It's just like you're doing your job, you're doing your thing. Like once you've started and once you're in the middle, that clock has started, you're not backtracking. You're not focusing on what's going bad. You're just doing the workout and you're doing the best you can in that moment. I just think that the overall picture of the day and the struggle to get through those really hard days is way, way, way harder than any workout pain would ever be.
Yep. 1 second. Come on. So one question that I thought about as you were saying this, because I think that relates to a lot of other areas in life, was, you know, the fact that you mentioned that like right now you're working on not putting your hands on your knees when you're tired. Mm-hmm. And something that we always say is that progress happens in details. Like it's never something dramatic. Like I feel like when people go into fitness, you know, like especially if you're at the beginning of your journey, it's like I call this the golden era where every day you go to the gym and you get a PR and it's amazing.
Yes.
But you know, as you get better, progress happens when you make tiny changes. And now the reason why I want to pinpoint that out is because we're in the weight loss industry, and with the way that we coach, you know, a lot of times, especially when people get started, like we focus on one thing at a time because consistency breeds results, because that's how you build habits. So you focus on one thing at a time. And, you know, whether it's in weight loss or in fitness or anything else in life, like people expect to like have a dramatic increase in performance just by showing up. And it's like, no, just get really good at one thing and be consistent at it. Do you agree with that?
I totally agree. From the nutrition perspective, I mean, I was there after my first regional, so 2017 individual regionals, that was something that was a big difference between me and the other girls, was that I was not nearly as lean as them. And that that summer was when my coach and I, you know, started to really hammer down my macros, and that was what we changed. We did not drastically drop my food. He dropped it a little bit at that point because we were coming off of regionals. And then from that, it was probably June until the next regionals, which is what, May. From that whole time, we slowly increased my food, and I lost pounds of body fat because I was so consistent. And the more food he gave me, the more consistent I was, because I was satisfied and I was getting fueled properly. So I wasn't feeling hungry or depleted. In that whole year, I just kept losing body fat. And it was no magic trick or anything. I wasn't, you know, doing anything special with my macros. I was eating, you know, foods that I wanted. I wasn't staying away from anything. It was just the consistency of being as close as possible most days to those numbers. And the results showed for itself, because I really leaned out that next year. And I think with food, it's an easy comparison, but it's the same thing in the gym. Like, it's always something little that you're working on, especially when you get to my level in the sport. It's like we're nitpicking with little tiny details that, you know, we wouldn't necessarily care about if I wasn't competing, but like every second does count. And believe it or not, you can get better at double unders. You can make your air squat better. Like, even when you're at the CrossFit Games and you've gone years in a row, you can get better at everything. And like, obviously you're picking your weaknesses to spend more time on those things. But I think if you go into anything without a specific purpose of working on something, then you're just, you know, it's not about the weight on the bar. It's not about, you know, how fast you go. It's the movement, the intentional movement, that at the end of the day is what's going to make you better in competition. So I try to do that on almost every single piece. And my coach and I go over it together. You know, what are we working on today? So that's a good conversation to have for everyone going in the gym. You know, sometimes you're really beat up and you go in, you've trained 5 days in a row. I know most people nowadays are probably working out every single day, which is fine. But I think that, you know, you should go in every day with some type of idea of what you're trying to work on that day, as opposed to just smashing yourself into the ground, you know, and walking away being like, man, I really killed myself. But did you work on any movement? Did you work on any breathing? Did you work on any recovery? Did you do anything to kind of make yourself better for the next workout? So
yes, that's so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Like, it's something that we always say is live with intention. Like, before you do anything, like, what is your intention? And I think that's what separates you know, the group listening right now. It's a group of high performers. You know, the average, this might sound harsh, but it's the truth, from a high performer, right? It's like having an intention before anything that you do. You know, when you wake up in the morning, before you do a workout, what am I trying to get out of this? Not just like doing it, it's about doing it well, and that's how you become better. So thank you for sharing it. Erin, you had a question?
Oh, it was just a side question I thought of if there was time at the end.
Okay. I have one more question for you. In order for somebody to be successful at anything, and, you know, like we said before, like, to make it to the CrossFit Games, like, you are at the top of the game. Like, how many billions of women there are in the world? Like, you are in the top 5, right? What spot did you get last year?
7th.
7. Okay, like 7 out of 7 billion, or what, I don't know what's the world population right now, honestly. And I mean, I shouldn't be talking about it during coronavirus, because God forbid it's just changing on a secondly basis.
Yeah.
But you know, like, you're that level of fit, like, it's insane. And in order for you to be successful at anything, you have to have a really strong emotional attachment. Like I said, it doesn't happen by accident. So, you know, if you're comfortable sharing with us, what is your why? Like, why do you want to do this?
Yeah, so I've talked to a lot of people about this, like, over the years, because I think it kind of, like, everyone starts and they're like, I just want to win the CrossFit Games, you know, like the end goal is the target, right?
Sure.
And now that I've kind of settled into this, and I still really want to win the CrossFit Games, and that has not, my will to win has not changed. but the focus, you realize that the focus is on the day. And like if you truly enjoy what you're doing, like I cannot imagine doing anything else right now. I'm a physical therapist. I want to get back to doing that eventually, but right now it's like I was given these God-given gifts for a reason. I was not, made this athletic by accident. None of this was an accident. So it's like, if you're not using this as an opportunity to try and, number one, be the best you for yourself, but also for other people. Like, I think that most people think that they don't have a purpose and that they don't have something that they're good at, and there's a reason that you're a certain way. But I've just learned that every single part about yourself is that way for a reason. So you don't need to go out and try to change yourself. You need to realize and embrace the way that you're made. So I am super anal OCD crazy about certain things. And like, there's times where I feel guilty about being that way, or, you're too anal, you're too obsessive, you're too whatever. But it's like, I've finally gotten to the point where I'm like, no, that's who I am. I was made that way for a reason. It's made me the athlete, the person. I probably wouldn't have gotten into PT school. I probably wouldn't have been so successful in sports if I wasn't this way. So you take that, you embrace it, and you say, how can I be the best version of myself? How can I serve my husband and help him be the best version that he's supposed to be? So I think that everyone has that ability. It's just a matter of finding what you're good at. And it's not always easy. I think some people it's easier than others, but every single person has a gift. And I think you're doing a disservice if you're not sharing it with the rest of the world. So that is what I'm trying to do, and hope to continue to do that.
Amen. Well, I'm not sure if the games are going to happen this year, but you know that anybody who's in the room right now, we're all rooting for you.
Thank you so much. I hope they happen, but I'm not banking on it at this point.
Yep. Erin, come on with your question.
Yeah, I was thinking about it because I used to compete, not at that level, but I was pretty cool in a small town. But is this just me, or before the 3, 2, 1 happens, do you feel like anxiety and nervousness? And then when the clock beeps, it's just like poof, gone, and you're just like get in your flow?
Yes, for sure. And I think it's way worse like 30 minutes out, and then it's pretty bad like 15 minutes out, and then when we line up, it's like holy cow. And then you run out on the floor, and it's kind of just like you're so focused on what you're about to do. There's, especially at the games, like you don't get to see anything beforehand, so you run out there and you're trying to like, where's my line, where's I'm supposed to go, where's my judge? Like, you're so focused on not messing up something stupid, because it's so easy to like go to the right bar, okay, kind of like look out. So at that point, you're just ready to go, and then they line up, and what I say stand by is 10 seconds. And at that point, you just take a deep breath. And I feel like that's kind of when the calm settles in, because like, yeah, my leg's still kind of shaking in that moment, but like mentally, I feel a lot better than I did 15 minutes ago. Just waiting is the worst point for sure.
Yeah.
Make you crazy if you wait too long.
It's the unknown, right? It's like, what's going to happen? Where am I going to be? Who am I next to? Like, am I going to jump on someone else's stuff? Like, and then it's gone, and you're like, and then you just go,
oh, let's do that again. It was fun.
Yeah. Totally. Awesome.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. Okay. Who would you say is the one person in this world that you look up to the most?
Oh gosh, that question is so hard. It's probably changed, and it's probably can change every week, but I don't know if he's listening right now, but my husband right now, just like you learn how to see how people like work really hard. And I work hard in a different way than he works hard. He has a hard job. He works for a branch of General Motors. So they work you into the ground there, and it's a great job, but like he'll work 90 hours a week and not ever complain, and just still go to the gym and still be there to help me, still support me, like still help with the dogs. And it's like, man, I would be losing my mind right now, but you're fine. And it's just like that mental toughness. I just think it's really admirable. And like, I wish that I had that on so many levels, like emotional control that he has, and just being able to stay so steady state and be like accepting the reality that that's what he has to do right now. And, still being a good human being outside of it, which is like, would be hard for people to do. You work that much, you don't get a lot of me time. You don't get a lot of you know, right now he's getting a break, which is a huge blessing for us. But yeah, I just think that it's pretty admirable to be able to work like that. I think a lot of people don't have that in them. So, and I try to tell him that. I'm like, you know, what you do is really hard. Like you think he thinks it's normal. It's not normal. Like people don't work 30 days straight without a day off. Like that happens sometimes, not all the time, but it happens. And it's like, that's amazing that he can just push through that and still be a good human and still be here for me. And yeah, so very impressive.
Well, I'm sure he feels the same way about you too.
I hope so.
Also, what the heck hoodie are you wearing? Because that's phenomenal.
It's a soon to be Amanda Barnhart Born Primitive stuff that we're working on. So it's a little teaser. It's cute, isn't it?
Now y'all know. It is.
We're gonna have
crop.
Yeah, it's like it's not short crop. I don't like them too short.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like I can't wear it in public when my whole belly is hanging out. But yeah, just short enough where it's cute and tie-dye, of course.
That's so amazing.
So great.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know how long it's going to take, but within the next several months, it will be out.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have to promote it on our page, and we're all gonna be cheering you on at the games.
Yeah, I
Okay,
appreciate it.
so you're a Team XND athlete.
I have to change the view so we can do this right.
Okay.
Go
So
ahead.
you're a Team XND athlete, and of course we support XND as well. They have the best stuff on earth. Whoop, whoop. And for everybody who showed up in the room, we're gonna do like a giveaway of the shot that we took at the beginning, the creatine JB. Okay, so currently there's 21 people in the room. Pick a number between 1 and 21.
This is for Amanda.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I got a number.
Okay, what's that number?
11.
Heather. I think that's Heather Draper.
Is that Heather Draper?
Okay, so this is funny. When She XND, are you familiar with like the Facebook group what is it?
Yeah, I'm doing a workout with him in 2 weeks.
Okay, amazing. So we let him work out, and they had us pick a number, and I picked 11. But why 11?
This is my volleyball number.
What's your
That was my soccer number.
I love that number. It's such a good number.
Because what's better than first is two firsts.
Yeah.
All right, so Heather, you are the winner.
It says Heather's iPhone. Heather's iPhone, can you like turn your video on so we can make sure like what Heather it is?
Or at least type in the chat.
It
is!
All right.
Hey!
What's up?
You about to get
essential worker. Heather will connect with you later and we'll be sure to send the JD to you.
Woohoo.
On that note, Amanda, thank you so much for your time this morning. It's been an absolute pleasure. You're such a gem. You're amazing. You're so inspiring, and we feel truly blessed to have you speak to our community this morning. So
thank you. I really appreciate you guys having me. It was fun. I always love chatting and seeing new faces, and meeting you guys was awesome. So
awesome. Of course, likewise.
Did you guys have your coffee?
So look at this.
Oh my gosh, are those little doggies?
Okay, it's a French bulldog. So
you have a French bulldog?
You gotta see him. He's so needy.
Wes, come here. You gotta see this. What's his name?
Sergeant.
Sergeant. How
but
cute.
His friends call him Boogie.
Boogie, say hi.
Sergeant. This is my husband, Wes.
Good morning.
Hi, Wes. What's going on?
Not much.
What dogs do you have?
Where's
we got Huey.
We'll show you Huey. The other one's locked up. We just got the other one, so we're keeping them separate for now, but eventually we'll be able to introduce them.
What breed is it?
He's a pit mix, and the one we just got is a bull terrier. Say hi, Hugh.
Look at.
Okay, clearly he looks like he's really spoiled.
He's very spoiled.
He's just a baby.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We're hoping that they're going to get along really well. We're supposed to wait a couple of weeks just to get her really settled before we just introduce them, because she's only a year and a half and he's 12. So they have quite a few years between them. So we want to make sure that they get along. Yeah. And we do it all nice and slow. But yeah, she's cute. She's a little terror, but she's cute.
Well, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, we did the shot at the beginning. He missed the shot.
He's wondering how he can get shoulders like yours.
Who said that?
This one.
Boogie.
Oh. Okay, here's a picture of her.
Uh-oh. Yours
is mine frozen or is yours frozen?
Are we frozen to you?
Are we frozen on your end?
You guys are frozen.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, wow.
She's got she's like a Target dog. Have you seen the white Target dog?
Like the shark nose.
Yeah. Literally like an alligator, like.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
She's cute though.
Great. Well, it was a pleasure having you. Have yourself a beautiful weekend.
Thank you. You guys too. Hopefully we'll stay in touch.
Yes, we're definitely going to stay in touch. Thank you so much for your time. You guys, thank you so much for showing up as well, and, you know, and taking an hour out of your morning or evening if you're in another country. We will see you guys on Monday at 6:30 a.m. By the way, Amanda, do you have Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay. Amanda, you need to watch the coffee shows too. I think you would die.
Okay. I love it. Are they Mondays?
Monday through Friday, but on Friday we do guest interviews.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
What time are the regular coffee shows? 6? Your time?
6:30.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'll check it out. Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. You're awesome. Have an amazing day, everybody, and a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.